Good night, everyone. It's already December 4th, 2020. With this, we start the show Confirmado la Moncloa, a review of the Spanish political situation. It will be around 30 minutes long to focus on a few ideas. As always, we will start with the comment of the day. Since you know, as we've mentioned other times, many people have been writing to the representatives of the Congress and the Senate, and we have seen that many people aren't replying. So we have asked the people that listen to us to give us the names of those that are not replying. And we've received a really long list of people that haven't replied. Many representatives that haven't replied, like for example, Carlos Javier, Olga Gemma, Laura Eva, Daniel Susana, and a long etc. And during the weekend, we're going to show the curriculums of these people, the representatives that haven't replied, since it seems that they are not conscious of the work they are being paid for. Because when you're receiving public money and you're a representative of the Congress or the Senate, you have to reply to the population, because they're the citizens, the ones you work for, really. Or do you think that in a private business, if you don't reply to one email, to 2 emails, you think they won't reply? Of course they will. And basically the representatives of the Congress and the Senate, the clients, their clients, are just the citizens, the ones that vote. So you have to reply to them, even if they voted you or they didn't. That doesn't matter. We already explained about a few representatives like Mr. Aceves and also Ms. Fuensanta. And just looking around, you see that the curriculums of these people aren't just the best ones. And there are real big surprises. We will see. And after all, you just notice that in politics here, we don't have the best people. Here we have the lazy people, the ones that can't work on the private sector that end up in the public as representatives. Like we explained today, Pere Aragonés, the representative in Catalonia, that's now president in functions, and that he was 8 years to get the degree in law after being expelled from the first university. And we all know that the second university he went to finish the degree, the UOC, WOC, here in Catalonia, is the one that people go, that we know that here that gives the degrees as if free. Also, Pere Aragonés said he was working on a law firm when he was in first year of the degree of law. We imagine that serving coffee. But that's the most common here in politics. People with no knowledge, just lazy people that end up in politics because what private business is going to contract them and pay them 4,000, 5,000, 600 or 7,000 euros every month. Well, in no business. And the worst is that these representatives think that the rest of the society is having the same salary as they have, the same amount. And that's not the truth. And as representatives, your obligation is to at least reply. And since you haven't done so, this weekend we'll go one by one explaining their curriculum and showing how they are and who they are. And to humiliate them publicly, because it's the least that they deserve. And we're not giving all of the names right now because we don't want them to erase their curriculums and the public information, because they're capable of doing so. Because some representatives, for example, haven't even finished school, and they are receiving 5,000 euros every month. And they have been since age 18 as public servants. And not because having more or less degrees is better, but because having a degree implies that the person has made an effort. But what's not okay is the people, the lazy ones, that have just tried to do the easy peasy studies, or just the ones that are almost just as free. And that these people that are totally incompetent, that usually end up as representatives in the country. And some might think that doing this about the curriculums and looking at them and seeing the things, the surprising things, the lies and everything will lead nowhere. That's true, it won't do anything at all, it won't change anything. But sometimes things aren't supposed to change or do anything at all, but that doesn't mean they don't have to be done. We will start with today's headlines. The first headline would be that the PSOE, PSOE, the Social Democrats, will start to go against Unidas Podemos. now that the national budget has been approved in the Congress. And the Social Democrats will also go against Bildu and ERC. Remember, ERC is the political party pro-independence here in Catalonia. Or does someone think that they're gonna tolerate them one more month? They needed these three political parties, Unidas Podemos, ERC, and Bildu, for the national budget, but now the Social Democrats are gonna go against them. We are going to have a war at the left wing of the political parties that we haven't seen in 100 years of history. The rest of the headlines. Second one, is the national budget worth anything? Are they worth anything when the OECD says that the national budget is unreal? False? So really, the national budget is just like a milestone to go against a political party or so. For example, in a private business, to approve the budget of the business doesn't mean that a month later that business couldn't be broke and declare suspension of payments, or for example, declare state of insolvency. And that's the same with the national budget. If you give false data and you approve that false data, reality doesn't change because of that. Third headline of the day is Minister Robles that wants to go against old people. It seems like the old people, the ones that are already retired from the National Intelligence Center and the military, can't speak freely. They can't write letters freely and express what they really think. Like, for example, letters to a newspaper or anything else, like talking with friends or so. It seems like the government is just so worried about this. And some of us think that this is another invention of Iván Redondo, another smokescreen, to cover up the agreement made for the national budget and other agreements with Bildu, those that are friends with the people that killed many people, even kids. And also with ERC, those that used to burn the Spanish Constitution. You think they're gonna go outside in the streets and everywhere just defending democracy? No. The next headline is the detention of people in an orgy in Brussels, where some of the members of the European Parliament were found, from Hungary. But the host of the party said clearly that in other occasions there were other members from other countries, and between them some were even from here, Spain. It means that some of the members of the European Parliament from Spain have in other occasions gone to this orgy. And some of us think that since they are going to these parties, being paid by all of us with public money, we should know who they are. But don't worry, we won't see this information in any newspaper. Maybe it's because some of the members of the parliament that have gone to these parties are close to political parties that are in the government right now. Don't you think that if they were political parties that aren't members of the government, the names would already be in the newspapers? And last but not least, like every Thursday, we're going to answer a few questions of the Patreon, YouTube's, and bank transfer. And with this, we start with the first headline, the Social Democrats going against Unidas Podemos, ERC, and Bildu, now that the national government has approved the national budget at the Congress. Now the Social Democrats are going to try and lie again, trying to fool the citizens to separate themselves from Unidas Podemos and the radicals, ERC and Bildu. The Social Democrats are going to try and make believe that they don't know who these political parties are. Like when someone uses someone else and they just leave them there on their own after using them, like you would do with a handkerchief. And this is Sanchez's speciality. And we have to remember that behind Sánchez we have Iván Redondo. And what they have done is clear. They have taken advantage of these three political parties until they needed them for the national budget. And the question is, was it so important to approve the national budget? And with this we enter into the second headline. The national budget. Is it that important to be approved? Is it necessary for the term in office? Well, the clear answer is no, no, and no. The national budget is an economic and judicial frame for the public money. But if the OECD has said it is a false budget and it's going to be half of it, the income is not going to be the same. And to approve a national budget with false data just to fool people will only lead to more worried people. But something good could come out of approving a false national budget. For example, if Nadia Calviño knew it was false data, she might have criminal responsibility, even if it takes a few years to do so. And the continuous lies of this government just prove how desperate the government is to stay in office as long as they can. Because if the Social Democrats, the government, were doing it so good, if the government was doing it so good, don't you think that they would have already called for national elections? So what does this government do? They approve false national budget, they send it to Europe. Europe doesn't say much because they don't have to say much about the national budget, really. And after, when we don't have the money that we need from Europe, we'll see what happens. For example, the football club Barcelona has its budget approved, but it seems like in January it won't be able to pay the football players, nor the rest of the employees. So, after all, the point is, if a budget isn't followed, they're useless. So the national budget here in Spain has only been approved to create another smokescreen, because if it's not going to be followed, it's for nothing. It's another invention of Iván Redondo. Or for example, all of those businesses that have the employees a file of temporary employment regulation, but have the budget approved. If you have no income, if the production isn't working, the budget is totally useless. Then it's just an invention of Nadia Calviño and others to try and do a smokescreen. So basically, the national budget is only going to be useful for the Social Democrats to go against Bildu, Unidas Podemos, and ERC political parties. Though we do think it's a risky tactic when you're trying to get away or separate yourself from the radicals, but not when you have gotten so close to the radicals. We think that that closeness with the radicals that Pedro Sánchez has done is going to go against him. And we also have Iván Redondo, that the only thing he does is just to create inventions and create lies just to confuse the people, the citizens. And that leads us to the next headline, where there's ex-military and ex-National Intelligence Center retired people that are expressing themselves. And the truth is that the current National Center of Intelligence are simply trying to defend this country. But those that are retired, those old people that have worked in those jobs, if they want to write letters to whoever they want and express themselves, they have every right to do so. But trying to go against them is just like another smokescreen of Iván Redondo to try of mislead reality. And the reality that they're trying to mislead is the agreement that the Social Democrats have done with ERC political party. Remember, their leaders are in prison for going against the Spanish Constitution and also for agreeing with Bildu. And doing this, it only proves that the government is just so close to the cliff. They're trying to do anything just to stay in office, whatever it takes, instead of managing and doing correctly the things how they should be. And this leads us to the other headline about the orgy in Brussels, because there was a member of the political party of the right wing from Hungary. And then the news came out, oh, what bad people, a gay orgy with people from Hungary from the right wing. But when the host said that in other occasions some of the members of the European Parliament were from Spain, it seems like the news just went disappearing. How come? Maybe one of the members of the European Parliament is related to a political party that's in our national government? Well, there are a lot of rumors. And you know, when there's rumors, there's sometimes just about to be news. And we hope that we get to know the names of these people because after all, they're paid with our public money. And we'll now get to the questions of the Patreon collaborators, the YouTube collaborators, and the bank transfers. And we've selected 2 questions. The first question is, could Ayuso end up being the substitute of Pablo Casado from the People's Party? Well, the thing is, and we are saying it in the past tense, Pablo Casado in the past seemed like he was going to have a chance in another election, and if he lost, he would go out. But now, things have changed. The way he's managed the political party and his incompetence, and also the people inside the political party are nervous. So it seems that maybe the people from the political party of People's Party have seen that Pablo Casado doesn't have the ability to be the leader of the party. And in that way, it seems like from the hand of Miguel Ángel Rodríguez, the communication advisor of Ayuso, and it seems like she does have that leadership. And it seems like Ayuso is trying to mobilize, going to other autonomous communities where the People's Party have less force, like she did when she came here to Catalonia a few days ago, and those movements aren't liked by Pablo Casado's team. So, could Díaz Ayuso be the first woman president of this country? It's been years since it has been mentioned that we could have the first woman president in Spain. We will see what ability she has to mobilize herself, and also it seems like Díaz Ayuso has been able to outshine Feijóo as a possible leader of the People's Party. And the thing is, Pablo Casado shouldn't be just relaxed, seeing that he has possible candidates' position. And that only means one thing. Casado, you're just doing it terribly bad. And it seems unreal that all of the advisors you have don't see the bad situation we're in. And also that they don't see your incompetence to manage things. And as we have said other times, we have the worst government in the worst moment possible, and also the worst opposition right now. And the second question is, what do we do with those representatives of the Congress and the Senate that haven't replied after like 7 emails or more? Well, as we said at the beginning, we've made a list of all of those that the people have told us that haven't replied, with around 60 or 70 names of representatives of the Congress and the Senate, of whom we'll try this weekend to make some light shine on their curriculums and the truth about themselves. We will do short shows because we won't be able to do them so long with so many names, and we will probably prove that some of them, or most of them, don't deserve to even be in the public service. Because in politics, we should have the best, and they might do it good, and they might do it bad, and they might do an error, but after all, they must be competent. And if you don't know how to do a job or something, just change the job. Don't just be there doing laziness or doing it bad. Because in the end, nobody is required to be a representative of the Congress or the Senate or any other representative. But truth is that most of the representatives right now, if they weren't doing this job, they would just be in a really, really complicated situation because they wouldn't be able to survive without public money. And that must be said. Now remember, complicated days are coming, and tense ones too, and the Social Democrats are going to try and go against Unidas Podemos, Pablo Iglesias, and also the ERC political party and Bildu. And there's going to be so much propaganda with the media that's related to the government that we've never seen before. And some of us that we think and will not deny that this government must leave the office as soon as possible. We hope that they leave, but not only Unidas Podemos should leave the government, but also the maximum responsible for this. That's Pedro Sánchez and Iván Redondo. And we also hope that they end up their days in prison. And we still do not understand why Iván Redondo and Fernando Simón, that don't have immunity granted, haven't received multiple lawsuits. Because doing so would have probably made this government fall earlier. And all of those that work to jobs related with the law should think if these people haven't done enough as to go to prison. Because one thing is to manage in a bad manner, and another is to laugh of people and make them a fool and lying. And this government is just lying constantly and laughing of everyone and isn't managing correctly. And with this, we finish the show. So stick around, or as we say in Spain, seguimos.